All right. It's podcasting time, everybody. We are on episode, 29. And
Sure.
Well, I really hope you kept count because
I don't know how to count, so I have to Google it every time. Yeah, that's actually half true.
count all the previous ones.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're smart, they'll be in the title. You can just look up the title of the last one, right?
Yeah, that's what I have to do, actually. This is called
Let's
research.
just hope we were on the spot.
Hope everybody's doing well out there. Thank you for tuning in. Today is going to be... We are kind of like shifting a little bit of our focus. Not entirely. We're just broadening, I guess. And today we're going to tackle what's going on with Twitch and try to kind of dial in just some things that we've, or at least I've been kind of witnessing over the years. And we're the first thing I should probably announce is that IQ itself, the community, we've opened it up to all content creators. So if you are a content creator, and on any platform. So we used to just be exclusive to affiliates, Twitch affiliates. And we had this whole application process and we vetted every member. And we wanted to make sure we kind of like brought in like quality people in the beginning, and try to, have at least some sort of community that would have a nice focus. And I think at this point it would benefit us as a community and other people as well to just kind of open it up. So we still have slight qualifications. We want you to be at least 18 years old, and we would like you to be able to treat things professionally. If you can, if you feel like you want to be in a community like IQ, go ahead, visit infinitequality.live, and our Discord community is open. There's no application process anymore. You don't have to quit your Twitch team. You're not going to automatically be joined to our Twitch team. It's not like that kind of thing. It's just a place for content creators to hang out, ask questions, introduce themselves, do some natural, organic kind of discovery of other creators. And, we wanted to be as authentic as possible for these kind of communities. We realize that there's a lot of communities like this that are, what's a good word for it? Toxic, dangerous, selfish,
These are all good words.
gamified. They don't...
Ponzi'd?
Yeah, they don't really... They want you to buy their ebook or something.
Ebook.
We don't have anything like that. It's just as authentically as we could be. We just want to be a group of people that just hang out with each other, discuss things, a place that you can be like, oh no, my thing broke. What, anybody know how to fix? And then you have people that can kind of help you. So other than that, today's topic, oh boy, I'm so anxious about this topic. I hate it. I don't like it. I don't want it to be
Just let it out, Sonny. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're here for you.
So
Belt it out.
should we do the clickbait version? Oh man, Twitch be dead. Oh boy, the death of Twitch.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah,
should we all look at the camera really surprised so that you have a thumbnail?
Thumbnail for YouTube. Yeah.
Three, ready? 3, 2, 1.
I think Pickles turns
I
around.
was like, what?
Perfect. Yeah.
Hello, YouTube.
Oh boy. And we're also live on
What's poppin' YouTube?
Yeah, we're live on YouTube and Twitch right now, so if you want to, wherever you want to watch is fine. Yeah, so Twitch is in, I don't know, it's in a different place, and that difference has become confusing and kind of hard to navigate. Harder to, it was more clear to me and to many of us years ago, the kind of things that you could do on Twitch to garner attention for yourself as a content creator. There was obviously like things that were really bad to do. There were decisions that you could make that would harm your growth. And there were things that were more clearly a viable strategy for attention. and these things are not as clearly working anymore. And I've been trying to figure this out. I didn't even realize what was going on because I knew that it was something was going on, but I didn't know exactly why. And I really only have theories at this point of why I think what's going on and what it looks like to me. So two of the big things we're going to discuss today. That's kind of the aim, is to maybe just try to drill down into these things. Are they real? Is there a way to kind of fix these things? So the first thing we're going to talk about that I think is harming Twitch as a platform, and why people are claiming that, it's over or growth on Twitch is much harder, is the mechanism of attention on the platform itself is tied directly to that little red number on the bottom of the stream. And that little red number, the view count, it is so hard to tell what is going on with it. Is it accurate? It doesn't. A lot of times it just doesn't actually seem like it is actually accurate. I've been watching a lot of streamers be live with like 15 people in their stream, and it's obvious because they're chatting. There are people there, and the view count's 4, 6, and it doesn't really budge. It drops. It goes up a little bit. It comes down a little bit. It's very, very inconsistent. And one of the things that you need to grow on this platform consistently is that your community that is watching you, that is supporting you, is registered so that other people who are browsing the platform, which is another thing we'll talk about. It's probably the second thing we'll talk about, is what viewer behavior looks like. But you need when people join a category, if you have 20 viewers, that really changes how discoverable you are in the moment. If it says 6 and you've got 18 people in chat, that less people are likely to click on your stream now, because it's not reflecting what's actually happening. And so this concerns me. I know one of the things we've been telling people for a long time is, don't pay attention to the view count. Just act like there's a bunch of people there. Stream to the people that are there. But it's a part of a compounding issue of how successful your stream can be. And also, the viewers don't know what's going on. So you could have somebody pop into your stream and be like, oh, wow, it's kind of dead in here. Even though, like, there are a lot more people supporting, and you should be seeing growth. And it might actually deter someone. Maybe I missed something. Maybe something happened here, and then this is not. I'm going to go somewhere else where there's obviously a bunch of people in the stream. I don't know. It's not good. How do you guys see problems with the view count? Let's start, Snazzy. Let's start with you.
Do I see problems with it? As in, do I see that it's inaccurate? Yes, I've been to plenty of places, plenty of streams where it's very obvious that there is a certain amount of people in the stream, mostly through because you can see them chatting, but the numbers do not reflect what's going on. On a couple of streams that I moderate, there will be a raid that brings in an X amount of people, and the viewer count would either not change or change very briefly and then immediately change back to what it was before. And there is no way that 50 people clicked off all at once. Like, that's just impossible. Law of lurkers says that at least 10 of those people were left there lurking or sleeping, or somebody's cat who's being babysat by Twitch. So yes, the whatever mechanism that they use for tracking viewers is not accurate. But I've that's been my position for a long time. Mm-hmm. I know for example, like, I'll have my lovely wife, who's not here right now, because she mods my stream sometimes. She hops in my stream, and being that she's in the same room, I know when it happens. I know when she goes to the stream, and I'll look at the viewer list, and I won't see her there for half an hour later. So whatever mechanism Twitch is using to count viewers and to show you who is in your viewer list, if you do look at that for whatever reason, in my opinion, has been inaccurate for a very long time. But yes, recently it feels like it is worse than usual.
And I've seen a lot more discrepancies in like the things that report out too, right? So like when you finish a stream, I get an email from Twitch, I get an email from Stream Elements, there's data on Sellinome. So like you have all these places that are collecting data and none of them are consistent across the board, right? Your
Yeah.
peak viewers even are different. Your average viewer count, your just viewers over time. So I don't know if the capturing mechanism is just not in real time anymore or what's going on, but I'm even like now if I click in here there's people chatting that aren't listed
Yeah.
watching the stream. And I think part of it is Twitch isn't always really clear about who counts as a viewer versus not. And I know I'm someone who will sometimes, listen to it in the background or vice versa, have it on view. And if it's someone I know that curses a lot and my child's around, I might have it on like pretty much silent, right? But I'm still watching the gameplay and I may not count as a viewer. So the way that Twitch is recognizing viewers, despite it being a metric that you use, right? It's a partnership metric. It's literally a metric that they use, right? 75 CCVs, but let's be honest, it's like 100.
Yeah, true.
It's not their capturing mechanism. I don't know if they've switched it recently or if it's just always been broken and we're actually scrutinizing it more closely, but there's something strange about it.
So the viewer count has never been totally accurate because that's how the caching refreshes. Like every few minutes, it's recounting everybody that's there, and even though it's doing that, people are coming and going against the refresh time of the site. But lately, it has been.
I wouldn't say it's
actually
always
broken.
been inaccurate. I think it was more accurate than it is now. I think
in my opinion, it's always been.
It used to be more
been.
accurate, yeah, but it's there's
20
something
I started
wrong with
streaming
it
in
now.
2015, 2016. It was pretty accurate back then from in my experience. I streamed full time. There was a period where it noticed to get worse and worse and worse. And my theory, this is just a theory, is that Twitch has made algorithms and detection mechanisms in order to try to defeat view bots, detect them, and rule them out. And it's false flagging against things like the shields in Brave browser. Like we've been doing some testing with some people. Seems like if you have the shields up in Brave browser, you can count as a viewer for like a few minutes and then it disappears. Because the algorithm may be detecting or false flagging the people who are watching using the Brave browser as potentially a bot, and so they just remove it. And so there may be just a lot of things going on in the background for that Twitch is set up that are just causing it to be even more inaccurate as time has gone on.
I mean, I will say in the 3 years that I've been streaming, more or less, the view count has always seemed a little off, but yes, lately it's just been way off.
Well, way off, yeah.
Lately, it's like actually broken.
Yeah. Well, before it was like maybe 2 or 3 people weren't counted, whereas now it seems like
it was always lagging behind a little bit, and then you could blame that on, it caches at a certain point, right? It doesn't cache constantly, like it just wouldn't. That would take up too much resources. So it caches every so often, right? And you can use that to explain the differential, but lately, like, that no longer makes sense, right? Something else is happening.
There's a chance that the thing that they've been using to count viewers has been the same this entire time, but there's so many people on Twitch streaming and using it that it just doesn't work anymore.
True.
Loaded, maybe.
True.
We're putting too much strain on the view counting system.
True.
Which is sad if you think about it. If that's all it takes, like, to break the view count. Honestly, the thing that I trust is Sellinome. If I ever need stats, that Sellinome is where I go, and I tell that to everybody, like, look yourself up on Sellinome.
The problem is Sellinome isn't what a stream like a viewer is going to look at, right?
No, that's definitely something for the streamer, not for the viewer. Yeah.
Right. So that doesn't. So part of the decision making process of someone who may be newer to Twitch or just looking for someone is they may go, okay, this is the category I'm looking for. This is the kind of streamer I might be looking for, and then this is the amount of viewers that I want to see. And most people like medium to larger streamers. Most people aren't going to like sneak into a 3-person stream just because they may not want to get noticed.
Some people do. Some people do.
Yeah, it's true. I'm talking in generality for sure, but like usually don't scroll to the bottom, right?
No.
When you're selecting someone to randomly hang out with, you're usually looking nearish to the top. And
Absolutely.
if it's a smaller category and everyone's fairly similar in numbers, if there's inaccuracies, it can be a big challenge.
But I think the part of the small silver lining, I guess, for lack of a better word, is that it seems like everybody's having these viewer count issues. It's not just small affiliates. Obviously, it affects a smaller streamer more,
Right?
because if you
bigger
have 5
proportion.
viewers, 2 viewers is a lot. Whereas for somebody who has 75 viewers, 2 viewers is not as much. But it does seem to be affecting everybody across the board, at least. So you shouldn't feel like you're the only one who has their view number hobbled. It seems like that's just the thing that happens no matter where you go. Even in bigger streamers, right? Viewer counts have been down across the board, seemingly.
Yep.
So what's our advice? What are we gonna do?
I don't know. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're just having a vet sesh right
Yeah.
now. This
Well-
is all this one.
Listen, what I would say is we kind of have to keep doing what we're doing, but we have to basically assume that there's just going to be a chunk of your viewers right now that are not going to be counted. And it sucks to hear that, right? It sucks to hear that, hey, we've placed this additional hurdle in your path.
Yeah.
But I think we have to go into it just knowing that, hey, if you're somebody with a 10 viewer average, you're going to look like you're an 8 or a 7 because Twitch be broken. Right?
Well, for me, it's a compounding issue, right? This is like only one piece of the picture. If this was the only issue, yeah, okay, then the decision is simple: ignore the view count, have a great stream, and just like try to get 200 viewers and let it count to 150 or 120 or whatever it is that's off by. Sure, I have no problem with that perspective whatsoever. Actually, I think that's I don't know. Right now, it looks worse than that to me. It's more complicated than that because this isn't Twitch's only problem. The landscape is so maybe we should move into the secondary problem and maybe like have a bigger discussion about both the view count and the other things that are harming the platform.
Sure.
So there's a whole topic on like the browsability of Twitch, and that can be broken down into a lot of different things, which is not. We're not going to cover all of it today, but I have a big problem with like the organization of the platform. It's like not easy to find what you're looking for or find people that have the same interests as you. You kind of just have to stumble into somebody that has the same interests as you. So like finding streamers that you would love is harder than ever, because as the quality of streamers has grown and people are like getting better, like streams are getting better. And there's a lot more competition out there of like really good channels and people that you would like to meet online and hang out with, and you would enjoy their stream. But how do you find it? You just have to be bored and like randomly clicking on categories. And then like if you really love talking about like, I don't know, UFOs or something, and there's like a streamer that's all about UFOs, how do you find that streamer? Like it's not like there's a live search system to figure out who's doing what on stream, who likes to talk about what topics. You just have to like, it's like gambling. You just like randomly have to happenstance fall into the stream that is, and then what if you fall into a stream you would like, but they're not talking about UFOs in that moment, right? So like, I don't know. It's harder than ever. And then on top of that, the last 2 years we've had some major changes to the platform, and I think this is the topic I would really like to discuss today. So, the view count's inaccurate. Okay, so that doesn't seem, it sucks. It doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. Well, viewer behavior used to be, and this is what it looks like to me. I could be wrong, but viewer behavior looks like it doesn't browse Twitch as much anymore. There's some browsing, sure, people are browsing, but it's not as it's not happening as much as it used to. And I was trying to figure out why, because Twitch didn't look different to me. And I didn't realize this, but Twitch Turbo made it so that I didn't see the changes. I didn't have to deal with commercials. I didn't have to deal with the pre-roll ads or the mid-roll ads. And the last 2 years, first the Twitch ads released, like they added the ad system, but a lot of the ad block software that people could just install to their Chrome or whatever as a plugin worked. You still didn't have to see the ads. And then Twitch worked around that. And then they started pushing more ads that are kind of disruptive to the stream. And I think this is my theory is it's having an effect on viewers' behavior on Twitch, that people are kind of being subconsciously driven to not browse as much because they don't want to sit through the pre-roll ads. And even if you do browse and you get a commercial, you're likely to not want to watch, especially if you get the same commercials over and over and over again. And now you're not just, are you in the right mindset to follow the stream that you might like when you've just been annoyed by the same commercial that you've seen 7 times in a row trying to find a stream that you would like? Like, this is having a psychological impact, I believe, on viewer behavior. I think there's a massive percentage of viewers that are just overall being, I don't know, pushed away in some sense. I don't know, like they just don't want to browse Twitch as much anymore. Maybe that's why doing an oversaturated category, people are still browsing. Like, there are still people browsing Twitch, but it's not like it used to be where they'll scroll down a whole bunch and they'll go to like a 200, 300 viewer game. It's more likely that they'll actually go to Elden Ring and then scroll down and find your stream, even though you've only got 15 viewers, because they are still willing to scroll down. They are still willing to browse Twitch. It's just like, how much of this are they going to stomach? And then you need to be in a category where there is the most attention and there is the most interest. You can't just be like, hey, I play like Wii U games anymore. You can, but what I mean here is that, like, it's slower. It's so much slower. Like, yes, you could be number one in whatever, even Bayonetta or something. We always talked about that. But like at this point, it's like you're not going to meet as many people as you used to because people don't want to sit through ads. And the ads are a whole other thing. I don't even know how to like stomach this discussion at this point. But
I mean, even like
the
if
ads
you think
are yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll go.
Eat your meats.
I mean, even if you think about, say, YouTube ads, right? At least like the first ads maybe 10 seconds, and then you can skip the next ad, right? And like there's more variability in how you can get through that content and scroll through that similar content more simply. Their algorithm is better. Their ad kind of, and you can get YouTube Red.
Premium, yeah.
They changed it. I think it used to be called whatever.
Red or there was.
Yeah,
that was
but
something.
That got confused with RedTube. Don't do that. Don't go there. But YouTube Premium, right? So you can purchase the premium to skip those ads, right? And I think that it's too compartmentalized in that, like, in order to skip ads, and that doesn't even work every time, you have to get a sub to that individual, right? Versus you can get a monthly to skip ads on YouTube, right? So there are aspects of the ad system that it feels predatory kind of in a way, but also is counterproductive.
And then your browser crashes, every 10 minutes, forcing you to
right, and then you have to go back in, and then you watch the ads again, and it's just like, oh my god! And sometimes it's like 6 ads. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, sometimes it'd be a whole minute's worth of ads, and I'm like, I just want to watch a streamer. Or I've had it happen. I've literally actually had it happen in
I know what you're going to
stream.
I know what you're going to say.
I had it happen in Sunny's stream. He was playing Zelda, having a good old time. I was watching him. Boom, out of nowhere, ad for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
For a minute.
Mm-hmm.
His little picture goes to the corner, but it's not like it makes the ad like the ad takes over, right? I can't hear Sonny anymore, even though he's in a tiny little corner. So there's like a minute of my time wasted when I'm trying to watch him play Zelda. But
And we
no,
could
I'm
be in the
gonna
middle of a
watching it.
conversation, talking
Yeah,
about
I didn't hear what
something.
he said. Yeah, if he said anything to me, I didn't hear it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's live.
Those are the mid rolls, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And the problem is that they entice the streamer and affiliate to run the mid rolls to get rid of the pre rolls. And so you kind of have like a bad situation. You either turn off ads for new viewers, pre rolls, or you turn off ads for current viewers, mid rolls. You don't get to choose turning off both. And I was under the impression that getting rid of pre-rolls was actually better. So running the mid-roll ads was better. And then there's like
I don't disagree with you. Like
I
think,
do now. I disagree with that.
It's still better, I think, for like you said, like if somebody's just coming in and they want to get a kind of a sense of who you are, having an ad run right before they get to you is possibly more detrimental than somebody who's already in your stream and kind of knows.
I guess it's
like,
hard.
I get it.
It's hard to tell.
Like for me, it's like when a mid-roll ad pops up, I understand why it's being done, right? I understand the streamer wants to kill pre-rolls. I understand.
Yeah, but that's because you're a streamer.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Well,
But I think most viewers to a degree get it. Obviously, there's going to be a chunk of people who are new to Twitch who just don't understand how that works, and that's always going to be the case.
I don't know. I've left
So-
streams because the mid rolls interrupted my conversation.
Yeah. Yes.
So aren't
Well, that's true.
I think the lesser of two evils is just leaving pre rolls on for
Yes.
new people.
I agree.
I guess an ideal world, what I would like, and I think I've seen it happen. And excuse my like ignorance here, but isn't there a way to schedule and like just run rolls when you're like on break? I thought they used to do that, but it wasn't working right.
You can schedule it so they play at certain intervals, but I mean that
horrible.
depends. That counts on you also sticking to those intervals for it to play on your breaks.
It doesn't tell
Otherwise,
you.
just
You have to
See,
like
that's
be on
the
the
thing.
dashboard and stare at it and be like, oh, well, the ads are on right now. And
Right.
It's-
That's
and
what
I
I think would be better is if you could be like, this is my break time. Let me run some ads.
yes, that
you can do that manually.
yeah, you have to run the manually.
But it doesn't get rid of the mid rolls.
No, that is a mid roll. You're running it manually, so it becomes that's your mid roll
But then it resets the timing.
for
so
the
you
pre-roll.
have to-
Right?
Like get rid of pre rolls for like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
See, it's so complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why
Yeah.
why my opinion is to just leave pre rolls on for new people.
I
'Cause
agree.
More people are likely to sit through an ad for a new experience to make their own decision than be there and be interrupted while they're making that decision.
Ugh, it really bothers the stream too. I've had
The
so
thing that
many
gets
people.
me is, I've seen I've seen it happen in raids too. Somebody will raid you, and then you're in the process of thanking this person for raiding you, and welcoming them in, and then they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, I was caught in an ad. I didn't hear anything you said."
The solution to this really is
Cool.
Twitch needs to make it so that new viewers don't get pre-rolls on their first like 2 or 3 visits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like Twitch knows how many times you've been to a stream. They know if you're a first-time chatter. Like they should like give people a grace period of no ad. Like move the pre-rolls like 10 minutes out or something, so that it's your first time clicking on a stream. You don't have to see any ads. You can check the streamer out for at least 10 minutes, and then show the. It's not pre-roll anymore, but it would just like a delayed ad experience.
But I think so. Like what Meets was saying, it just feels crappy because like we're not as streamers, we're not really seeing any benefit. Off
No,
these ads, right?
not at
We're
all.
not
But my like
these
$2 a
ads.
month.
Yeah,
Right.
like, come on. So
And
it just feels like Twitch is
$2
pocketing all the money and making you deal with a system that annoys anyone who tries to interact with you. So it's like,
And even worse, like it is having an impact on viewer behavior because people will only put up with annoyances for so long. We all do everything we can. Even like the boomer generation does everything they can to not watch commercials. My parents mute the TV every time a commercial comes on. Like it's automatic for them. There are so many people that just do everything, whatever they can to make it a more comfortable experience. And ads are never a more comfortable experience. There's a lot of streams I've been in where they're like, the stream is so quiet, you have to turn it all the way up, but then the ad plays and it's like the loudest thing you ever heard. This is like, Yeah,
And that's part
okay.
of the
So
platform. Like, that's,
chat people brought up that don't, if you want to remove ads, don't be affiliated. That's not true. Twitch will still run ads on your platform. You just don't get any cut of it. They'll probably run more ads, and they have control over mid-roll ads. And then even worse, right? So you how many times have you guys been watching a stream, and you put it on another monitor or something to go do something else, and then you look back at it, and it's a big black screen with a big red button in the middle that says something went wrong, please refresh. And then you hit refresh.
All the time.
How many people get ads when they do that? So now it's like
every time, unless I'm sub to that channel. Sometimes even when I'm sub to a channel, yeah, I'll do the
still
whole
get the ads.
stream crash, reload, restart stream, whatever, re-download, whatever the fuck they call it. And yeah, ad. And like I said, it happens sometimes even on channels that I am sub to and in theory should not ever receive an ad for. It'll still happen. So yeah, that's just it compounds to you like, oh, why did my browser crash, right? Doesn't crash on YouTube, doesn't crash on TikTok, doesn't crash on any of those sites that stream video to me, but for some reason Twitch can't keep their stream steady. I don't know. If I was a tinfoil, I would say they're doing it on purpose, but
I don't know. All I know is it's affecting people's ability to grow, and so I don't. Is Twitch a good place to grow? I don't have a good answer to that question. I feel like I can say I can guide you better on how to grow on a different platform than what works on Twitch.
I still think though Twitch is if your goal is to be live,
oh great,
and interact with people live, it's still the best place for that.
Yes, agreed.
There's really no other place that'll cater to that. Like YouTube, live on YouTube is just not the same.
Yeah,
it's not there.
Mm-mm.
The fear is for me that we're in a trajectory where Twitch doesn't make the right decisions that turn this kind of stuff around. That they either do nothing.
I understand that fear, but like I feel like that's a future us problem. If anything,
Oh, I'd say it's a current us problem.
I feel like we should still the strategy for anyone trying to grow and trying to start out, and if you're a new streamer, I think it's still the same. Focus on the environment. Know that there are extra challenges and figure out how to get around them. I don't think that we have to worry about future Twitch decisions as much yet. That'll probably change in a few
Twitch
years,
is what I'm worried about. Is that the current state of it won't? I don't think it can last like this.
Right, but like again, that's a future thing. I think personally, I think
think it's currently a problem because I don't.
It's just stressing yourself out more than you need to. I feel like.
Stop it, Sonny. Deep breath.
I don't think it's a good return on investment. I think it's a good place to be live and hang out. But what I'm addressing here is the people that want to make this be full time. They want to stream. They want to get to partnership. They want to be a content creator. I think it's like the return on investment for your time is much too low on Twitch to make it work.
I think what Twitch needs, kind of, because if you think about it, they're still fairly close to a monopoly with Twitch in terms of how the platform works, and other platforms like TikTok, Facebook Live, YouTube Live they haven't quite gotten to a point where there's solid competition yet. But I think that they're coming towards that point, and I actually think that Twitch needs that. And I say that because if that happens, Twitch needs to figure it out. But as it stands right now, there's not as much motivation, I think, for Twitch to really make changes because like Mixer failed, because like nothing really has taken off.
Mixer didn't actually fail, but we can talk about that. But yeah,
well,
they imploded. It's a little bit different. But.
Failing is failing, right?
Yeah, are they around anymore?
Did they
even last like a year? No,
they canceled it. They canceled it. Yeah, but it wasn't failing. It wasn't really failing.
Well, but that's Apple.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I actually think that Twitch needs some competition, some like solid competition, and I think we're on the cusp of that.
Yeah, I agree.
YouTube is like 3 steps away from providing a viable challenge, but
I agree.
We're not there yet.
YouTube's trying to figure it out, and I think that they might. And if they do, Twitch will either start to fail, like actually fail, or will get their poop together.
I don't.
if you will.
To be fair, I don't think Twitch is ever going to really go away entirely. I think what I mean by dead is it's like Facebook. Facebook's alive. It's very alive, but none of us care. And like,
I like Facebook.
right?
I think Twitch could MySpace. It could totally go MySpace.
No, I don't think it'll ever go that bad. It'll Facebook.
It
I think
could.
Facebook. I think what's going to happen is it's going to settle down into having its base, its viewership base. And it's not really going to go past that at some point. And YouTube or another competitor will fill in with the big boy pants of like.
I think given if enough people drop off the platform, Amazon will 100% pull the plug. Like
okay, yeah, that it could be. Yeah, it could die entirely.
I anticipate the margins in Twitch aren't as big as we think that they are.
But margins aside, I think the key issue here is Twitch just doesn't have. There's no incentive, right? Because they see everybody else as being so far behind. They see Mixer, imploding.
Well, I don't know if it's an incentive.
Motivated to do anything about it.
I don't know if it's an incentive problem or just like the company is too big to make the right decisions problem. It's a lot of people and a lot of management and a lot of fear that usually keeps companies from making smart decisions to fix their problems. So you may have a bunch of people at the company that are actually like, hey, I see this issue. And management's like, we'll think about it, right? And it's like,
that's what I'm saying. That's within the confines of, being a streamer and trying to make that full time. That's not something you can control. That's something that we'll never be able to control, right? We can't control who Twitch hires or how much overhead they have or how much mismanagement there's going on. All you can do is work with what we've got. And like I said, at this point, if you want to be live, if your poison is being live on the internet and playing games and discussing things with people live, Twitch is still, I don't want to say the only place to do it, but it's the only place that I think is gives you any kind of decent return on investment. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still Twitch is king when it comes to live streaming.
True. I just think a lot. Go ahead, Pickles.
To piggyback off what Snazzy just said is that we can't control what Twitch does, and none of us ever will.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you somehow work at Amazon.
I mean, so when things suck, we generally have three choices of how to respond. One of those is go down with the ship. The other one is to jump ship early. And the third one is to just adapt and figure it out. And we can't control Twitch. We can only control what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we have to... I think the actual problem with Twitch is everybody, even in this conversation since this podcast started, we've all been talking this way, that every single person who turns on their OBS and starts streaming, they think they're like the guy. They're trying to be the protagonist of Twitch.
Syndrome, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because we're all like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, my community, me this, me that, my everything. And I think Twitch has actually reached or passed a point where that works. Because if you think about the evolution of YouTube, it started, like, Twitch is kind of following the same path, because YouTube started as viral videos. Then it turned into making videos on purpose. Then it turned into doing it as a job. And then it turned into, like, corporations. Like, that's when the people who were doing it as a job started, like, brand management. And, like, they have this building and they have MCNs and all of this and whatever. And I think Twitch is about to cross the threshold into reaching that kind of point. And then the next step that YouTube went was normies. And I think because of the pandemic, Twitch has invited a lot of normies in. And I know that sounds like what it sounds like, but it's kind of true. Like as soon as COVID started, everybody started streaming or watching Twitch, and there's been a flood of people. The user base in overall is way higher than it was 2 or 3 years ago. And I think that means that the rules have changed because like the bar has been raised. If you have a bunch of people who are used to things like TikTok and YouTube and just like scrolling, clicking on this and that just to have some sort of flash go off in their head, like their dopamine spike or whatever, that means people who were in like the 75 to 125 range, they still have to operate like they're in the 20 to 30 range. Like they still have to use those strategies that like smaller streamers have to do. And and going back to the idea that we're all training we're all focused on ourselves, I think is counter to the idea that all of us agree with, is that Twitch is a social platform. And but the issue is that we're all trying to drain the same well, as it were. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to be the protagonist of Twitch, and that's just not how stories work. And to use like a different analogy, we're all trying to be the lead singer of a band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's no band that's all lead singers. Like there are bands that swap the roles, but there's nothing that's just, not even a cappella groups are just all lead singers. And I think that's part of the issue. And we've kind of talked about it before, that there are archetypes that all streamers fall into, and it's kind of all entertainers kind of fall into these certain archetypes, right? But those are different from the roles that they play on those platforms. Because, for example, Jared is a teacher. He fits into kind of that archetype, but his role is more so of like the protagonist of his community. Like he's the center of the Venn diagram that everybody kind of connects to.
No, I agree.
And so I'm losing my train of thought. Hold on.
No, I love this. This is like the Tao of pickles right now. I'm
This is
loving
the most
it.
I've ever talked.
I know. We're just so silent. We just
You need a
like
drink.
let pickles talk.
He's been storing this up for a while.
Well, I have been thinking about this a bit, and then Sonny and I talked the other day, and I decided to try to figure out how to get to the bottom of it. And I think we're in just that whole idea, like if we use the band metaphor, sure, there's a lead singer, but we need people playing guitar, we need somebody on drums, we need somebody on bass, and that's kind of
The
people in your immediate group, your immediate community, kind of sharing. Okay, hold on.
So I think kind of like to sort of like foil off of that is like not everyone can have the same level of success on Twitch, right? Not everyone is going to get partnered. Not everyone is going to have those 200 view streams. Like it wouldn't work because like Hylian said, you're all kind of drinking from the same well. You're all pulling from the same water source, and that's a finite source, right? There's only so much money people are willing to invest into Twitch, and if they're sub to 3-4 channels already, you would have to provide something really nice for them to go, oh, you know what, I need to stop subbing over here and start subbing here instead, right? If you're looking at it from that perspective, like, and it's not a malicious thing. It's just people have limited resources. Money doesn't grow on trees, right? So
Also, like there's overlap with time and stuff like that. And if you look at the people who kind of fit that role. Like if you look at Jared and you look at Timberwolf and you look at Hypercipher and Bearboo, like they all have their own circles. Like they're not as much a part of each other's communities as they're a part of, their community. You know what I mean? They are all pulling from different wells. And for people like in my position, like I'm heavily I'm like I'm a part of Jared's community more than most others, and all of my viewers are Jared's viewers, right? And I have like there's some that are Snazzy's and some that are mine, some that are Kuma's, like, but I'm not going to reach the point that Jared is at because I share so much of my stream, my viewership with these people, right? And so, and I know because when I stream at the same time as some of these other people, my viewership splits. They have to make a choice between me or them. And so, I mean, and I have the luxury of choosing a stream time that doesn't overlap with that.
Which is another important thing that I think, previously we used to not push that as much, but I think, especially in these days, knowing when there's downtimes, and this isn't just for your local community either. I mean, like, also you can also, like, for example, take Dark Souls, right? There's definitely times when there are less larger Dark Souls streamers streaming. That's time for you to be in it if you can be. Obviously, not every, obviously everyone has different time schedules, and maybe you can't, maybe you don't have the luxury of picking what timing in a stream. But that's got to factor into your thing now, right? Is like, if I'm a certain type of streamer, what is a good day and time to stream when I'm not gonna have to compete with a whole bunch of other people who are in my orbit, right? And that goes, like I said, locally, like as well. Like for example, like what Highland's saying, I share a lot of viewers with Jared, right? And I know that if I stream at the same time Jared does, which happens occasionally, my viewership tends to be lower. But I'm not mad about that because I know exactly where those viewers are. Right? They're overwatching Jared, and I don't necessarily blame them. Like, right? Because he's the more bombastic sort of community leader, right? So, I think we just have to be more aware now.
Well, I'd like.
Well, also,
It feels like.
well, like, in that motivation, the motivation matters because if you want to be the lead singer or the protagonist or whatever, you do have to do these things, but they're like I'm not in that position. I know what position I can play, and because I am a prominent part of a community, I have the, and I know who my core viewership is they're the core people who always show up anyway. And so I have the opportunity to stop worrying about viewer count and who's going to show up and how discoverable I can be because I know who is going to show up, and they're the people who show up because we share a community. They're already my friends, right?
Mhm.
And so I don't have to play games at the right place at the right time if my goal for those people in those streams is to make memories and strengthen the overall community. Because when Jared grows, I grow. I've grown more from Jared growing and IQ growing and other people growing than my own attempts at growth.
Mm.
So if
That's
I like, if it's peaks and valleys, I want to raise the valleys, if that makes sense. Like just in terms of community engagement.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the future of what we're doing here is kind of finding if we look at big Twitch, which not a lot of
I like
people
Big
are
Pharma.
interested in.
Big Pharma,
Yeah.
yeah, big.
If we look at the big guys, they all know each other. They're
Yeah.
all friends. Not
Mhm,
everybody
mhm.
watches all of them,
Right.
but there's a shared language, there's shared inside jokes, there is a shared community amongst them. And I think what we have to do is the same thing on a much smaller scale earlier than we thought that we would.
Right.
You have to attach
That's always
yourself
been
to
true,
community.
actually, to some degree, which is why I always
Yeah.
praise.
It's always been true, but I feel like even like literally day one starting out, you should try to find a community to attach yourself to.
Agree.
Right. I think we've talked a lot about that. I think to speak to Pickles' comments, it's really thinking about where you want to take stuff, how you want your role at Twitch to be. And I think in order for you to become your own protagonist, you have to find a way outside of Twitch in a lot of ways, right? Because you really only going to be pulling from other people's communities. There's not a whole lot of people nowadays that are freshly jumping ship over to Twitch, and if they are, it's for someone big on another platform,
Mhm.
right? So if you want to be your protagonist, right? If you don't like, it's like we're supporting actors, or maybe in some cases extras in a film, right? We're there. We need to be
That's
there,
a really good way to look at it. Yeah.
right? Maybe the chat is more extras, right? They're there. They're a part of the community. They're really important, but they're relatively. I don't want to say faceless because you guys are super important, but you know what I mean.
Well,
Where
in a movie, extras help it feel alive, so that
right, it brings life to the film, but it's not the focus necessarily. Where if you're a supporting actor, or someone with a smaller role, you're still there, you're still visible, but you were not the center of that space, that film. But in order for you to raise yourself up from there, you have to do other projects. You have to be in other things and get recognized. So I think,
Absolutely.
is my desire to do things that aren't live is like very little. But also in that context, I recognize that that's going to limit my ability to bring in anyone fresh, if you will, anyone new. And you have to be accepting of that, because you're not drawing new humans over, new whatever's over. You're pulling from people that have a shared community, a shared interest, a shared genre, what have you. So there is going to be a diminishing return there. So I think the bottom line there is, if that's okay with you, don't worry about the numbers. Be in your community, embrace it. If that's something you're not okay with, you have to find TikTok, YouTube, something to bring new people to you specifically.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I was thinking
That's
about
a tough
this a
pill to
lot.
swallow.
I was thinking about this a lot since we chatted with Sunny, and basically what like the conclusion I've come to is like the things that I would have told new streamers not to worry about when they're starting out, like YouTube, TikTok, having clips, compilations, all that stuff, all the stuff that I would have previously told streamers like wait till you're 10 average, wait till you're 15 average to do. Basically, the timeline just got moved up, right? In the current field, you have to start doing all those things a lot sooner if your goal is to grow and to make Twitch a full-time partner, that's your income stream, et cetera, right? If it's more
Or
than a hobby to you,
I'd
if it's
almost
work,
change that and say,
if it's work instead of a hobby, you got to start all those things a lot sooner.
don't
and you
do it
got to
for
go in.
Twitch, do it for you. Like,
Yeah,
so
like I'm
I
saying
would-
is, it just makes it makes those things have more value now than it did before. Like
I would-
having YouTube is more valuable now for smaller streamers than it was before.
I don't know if that's true, because getting people to click from off platform onto Twitch
Yeah, it's
is
not that good.
nigh
It's
impossible.
it's
But
hard.
it is easier to get people to click from Twitch onto something else. So if you do have other avenues that you are more focused on, you should be using Twitch as a tool to connect with people, because there's nothing quite like live streaming in terms of the streamer viewer relationship. And I think it's very powerful and has a lot of value, and being able to use and leverage that into other interests, I think is going to be more lucrative than trying to be #1 streamer guy.
Right. So I'd like
But
to
yeah,
kind
you,
of.
you use your Twitch content to fuel your other content. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. I really want to make sure that what I'm saying and the perspective of this whole thing is a little bit clear, right? So there's two kinds of people I'm looking at for this with the situation with what's going on Twitch. If you're a brand new, let's say you graduate college and you're looking at the world and you're like, what do I really want to do with my life? And you feel like you would be good in the content creation space. And you look at Twitch and you think, I could do that. I'd like to do that. I'd like that to be my job. I think that is a very difficult endeavor without all the stuff that we've been talking about. And it's even difficult within all the stuff that we've been talking about, networking properly and getting part of a community. And I'd say if you're starting if you want to start streaming if you don't have a community, you're not and you do want to be the lead singer of a band, the return on investment, you're like, I'm going to stream. So I'm going to stream 40 hours a week and then I'm going to be partnered in a year. No, I don't think that's that realistic anymore. It's
Well, that's because it's something that a protagonist would do, and not everybody's cut out to be one.
even if
right?
you are, I think even if you are, the landscape for growth on Twitch is so incredibly difficult because most of these people want to fly solo. They want to turn their stream on and have people show up and prove their worth of being this big streamer. That's
It's like trying to get discovered at an open mic night in Nashville, right?
Good luck.
Like, yeah, you can go ahead and jump in front and do your thing, but the likelihood anyone's gonna care is pretty low, right?
It's
Well,
actually
you can very realistically use a community, a pre-existing community, as a launch pad for your own. And I don't
Yes.
mean like in a malicious way. I mean, if we look at Timberwolf, who's like the least malicious person I've ever met, he was a prominent part of Jared's community, and now he has his own, and he's gone through his own thing and has his own story and how he got there, but like his journey does involve being part of one community and then splitting off, still having the connection, but still having his own thing tangentially to it that is
So-
more of a priority for him, of course.
it didn't used
kinda
to be
like
like this though. That's kind of my point, is that what's
But
changed
it
is
kinda-
in 2016 you could just be live and not know anybody and grow
Sure.
your channel.
well, good thing it's 2022, right, son?
Right.
It kind of doesn't matter what happens in 2016.
No,
You
it
have
does
to deal
matter
with
because
now.
what matters about it is that people still think, streamers still think it's 2016, and they look at the platform and think I can make it work just by
I
turning
mean,
my
that's
stream
true,
on.
but
Sure,
like
but
actually,
that's
my
why
wife
we're having
pointed
this
out-
conversation.
No,
right?
I just want to make sure that people who are listening, that we're trying to address that it's not going, like, we're afraid that it's not going to work that way anymore. If you want something that does work that way, that's when you start to point towards like, well, the return on investment for difficulty and turnaround is much easier to make one YouTube video a week and a TikTok every day.
But people are still going to want to do what they want to do. Like my wife pointed this out, and this goes along with Meets' analogy. People still move to LA with dreams of making it big, right?
Right. Yeah, right.
And statistically, that's been proved. Like, no, you're not going to, no one, like 99% of
True.
people who move to LA are never going to get in anywhere and never
True.
going to get in a movie. They're never going to break through. But people still do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's the same way with Twitch, right? Like the comparison to the open mic in Nashville. People are still going to get up on that microphone.
Yeah.
No matter what we do,
Yeah.
people are going
They
to get
might
up on that
suck.
microphone.
It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
Like my whole point is that just as other platforms, the most popular one being YouTube, the most popular alternate platform being YouTube, it evolved many times to get to the point where it is now. And Twitch is going to have to face the same points. And whether it evolves the right ways or not is up to Twitch.
Yep.
And we,
Can't do
as
anything.
streamers, have to understand that and adapt to what it's becoming.
Mm-hmm.
So it is going to be harder than ever to start streaming, but it is still possible. It's just going to be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
I
And it's
wouldn't
still
actually say
possible
that
to-
it's. Let me just clarify though. I don't think it's harder to be a streamer. I think it's easier to be a streamer. I think it's harder to be a successful streamer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
what
that
I-
actually might be part of the issue. Sorry to
But
argue
Yeah.
semantics there.
out there
It's-
that
No,
anyone,
that's a good
anyone and their
distinction.
mom can turn on a camera. OBS
Exactly.
is easy
The
and
technology is
ubiquitous.
so
the
much
technology is there.
easier. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's. I think you could still, if you want Twitch to be your job and you want to be partnered and you want to be, making money off of it, you can still do that. It's just it's gotten harder, and
It's different.
The timetable is longer, and it's going to take you longer to get there than it did in 2016, and that's just the reality that we all together have to adapt to. Like Highland said, I think adaptation is key, right? Because if you don't adapt, you are going to be in 2016, and ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for 2016.
I'd rather be in 2016, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, I'd rather, but I don't have that luxury.
Years.
I don't have that luxury. Maybe Elon Musk has that luxury, but
I mean, we always, in all things, have to play with the cards we're dealt. And if we focus it down to just Twitch, I mean, if the ads suck, if the viewer count is actually broken, those are the cards we have to deal with. And like I said, not everybody's cut out to be the lead singer, and I think it's important and valuable to embrace the other roles, the other things that people can do.
Yep.
And to like circle back to the big Twitch and how interconnected it is, and using that on a small scale, like if Jared is not streaming, Jared is still streaming because Feckless is streaming, or I'm streaming, or Kuma's streaming, or Snazzy's streaming. Somebody who has the shared language and the shared jokes, and they each have their own voice, but they still share these important aspects of what makes a community. And so somebody's always on that is a part of that community, that provides a place of familiarity and comfort, so that and a place to make more memories, so that when we do something like community review next Tuesday and somebody posts a clip from something that happened from somebody else's stream, we all get to enjoy it. Because we're all a part of the same thing, and we're all lifting the bottom line up by sharing, not cannibalizing, but sharing the water from the same well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We
high
also,
tide lifts all ships, as they say.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The stuff that actually works to help you be a successful streamer, it used to be like just be visible, play good games, have a good smart title, and put yourself in places. Well, a lot of that stuff is less effective. Not that it doesn't have an impact, but it's way less effective than it used to be. And so the things that actually cause a stream to like be successful is the stuff you guys are talking about, like being a part of a greater community and contributing amongst other creators, and that is way more important. Networking itself and is that what we're literally discussing is like proper networking, like getting to know your peers in this space.
Networking is way more important now than it ever has
Yeah.
been.
You used to
So,
kind of
like,
be able to
absolutely.
make it on your own a little bit. You could be like a little bit of a nobody and like
Yeah.
kind of like
That time has passed.
yeah, and that's kind
Yeah.
of my whole point. That's my whole issue is I want people to realize that they're going to need to do a lot more. It's funny, having a community like IQ and finding not IQ itself, but like being able to be connected with creators that you enjoy, and then like trying to figure out how you can become these boats on this water and rise together is so vital, which is why I think things like Bridge Crew have a great impact over time, a greater impact than just turning on your stream 40 hours a week. And if you really, really, really want to fly, and do it all on your own, and you're not very social, and you don't want to do stuff with other creators, Twitch is a very, very difficult platform, and it may never work for you.
I would say if you're not social, if you're not open to that sort of socialization, then it goes
to
back to, and
YouTube.
I've said this. I've said this before. Like, reconsider if live streaming, is for you. right?
Yeah.
Because it does take a degree of being social. It does take a degree of not just interacting with your chat, but interacting with other streamers and communities and figuring out where your place is in those communities. And if that's not you, if you literally just want to turn on a camera and play and have people show up, then you're either going to have to deal with that you're going to, see numbers that are lower than if you were social and part of a community, or you're going to go somewhere else like YouTube where you can make a video, put it out, and you get the dopamine hit elsewhere, right? And you have to kind of understand what's right for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the idea of being social is not just within your own stream anymore.
Yeah.
Like turning on the camera and getting found is not a thing anymore. Just like on YouTube, you can't just put a video out and expect it to take off.
Nope.
The era of being intentional is over. We're 2 steps past that at this point. And Twitch, I think, is about to also reach the next step in that evolution. And I think having, like, if we consider IQ a community to help lift each other up authentically, and I think like we are in a position to succeed in what's very likely the new era of Twitch if we play our cards right instead of jumping ship or going down complaining or anything like that.
I just
But-
hope that Twitch doesn't devolve into just reaction videos.
Yeah.
I just hope Twitch. I
True.
hope Twitch doesn't go the way of YouTube, where we have big, where we have literally companies that are producing groups of streamers for their own benefit, kind of like what YouTube has now, the sort of
Mhm.
corporate system where
Well, I mean, it will
brought to you
happen.
by,
I know the scary part of that is that like it becomes more normie and it becomes less of our thing and it becomes everybody's thing. But like,
yeah.
Well, it's also when famous people start to really jump on platforms, right? That it gets
Yeah,
really
'cause
difficult.
the most
Yep.
popular clips on YouTube are Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Corden doing some dumb thing on late night.
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Right.
But that's the thing is like we've had dabbles of well-known people, and there's definitely some
Yeah.
famous people. I think Jack Black has a Twitch, but it hasn't become as like corporate just yet, and it's kind of started to shift that way where maybe Vanity Fair will get a Twitch, right? And we have some big ones anyways, and that's when it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And I don't
But
know if it's actually going to happen or not, but
if we continue to adapt with the platform as it grows, it'll be ultimately beneficial for all of us. We just have to, we'll have to assess whether or not we like where it's going if we decide to continue on it.
Yep. As long as Twitch has a couple of options here. They can fix the platform. They can make the platform better. They could do nothing. Or they could make
keep
a
money
really
grabbing.
bad mistake and make the platform worse. And you guys have to decide what you think is going to happen. But no matter what happens, you should do what's best for you as a streamer. And don't stress out about things that you have no control over anymore.
Yes.
I would say,
Yes.
if you're gonna stream what you want, stream where you want, but do the things that are net benefit to you as a streamer, like getting involved with other communities and support other streamers, networking, things like that. Focus on being a good streamer and having a good time, and don't focus so much on strategies like, oh, I got to play this game at this time, and I got to, trying to manufacture growth on Twitch. I've seen people having more success playing really oversaturated games right now. Doesn't make any sense. It's like completely against how things worked when Jared started. Jared realizes that himself, that, it'd be really hard today because it's hard to look at Twitch and be like, okay, this is where I should go because people will be there. It's like, no, you could do that forever and no one could stop into your stream. And that's a lot of that is what's happening. So,
But I
I
think
think-
the key thing is to not be discouraged by that, but rather roll with that, roll with that knowledge that
Yeah.
there are things that you're gonna have to do differently. and don't begrudge somebody who started out in 2016 and is successful now.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, they might have had an easier time of it, but that's not something they can
I don't
control
know.
either.
Well, that's always going to be the case with early adopters, right? They're going to have an easier time doing things than late adopters.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But
We're
I
at
would-
late
I would-
stage Twitch, boys.
We did it. This is going to drag on. We don't need to keep going. Let's talk about this in the next episode. We got
Sure,
plenty more. So thank you guys for your thoughts. I think we're just going to wrap it up. So
we'll be back in 2 weeks, yeah?
yeah, we're not going to hang out and chat with people afterwards. This episode we went kind of long for that to happen cuz but yeah. So if you guys don't know, we have a community website, infinitequality.live. Yeah, we can hang out, I guess, in chat. I don't know. Today, yeah. So we might not be back. I think we have to take a break next week, so we might see you guys in 2 weeks. But go ahead and do the like and subscribe thing again. I mean, I just
to like and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications.
Slap that bell button,
Slap it.
dude, man. Bye, everybody.